Hi, I'm Drawbar Dan Topinski.
I'm Highball Harold Harilko.
Welcome to Shop Track.
Welcome. Compare time.
Compare time. Oh, Harold.
I got 14, 26, and 25.
14, 26, and 29.
We're good.
We're good on the time check. All right. Right on. Good call, Harold. Go ahead.
Well, got a very special to me segment today. A shout out, an homage, a paying of respects to really an icon and a giant in the railroad history of our nation. That is the late Mr. James Fraser Munsey, or JFM, Juliet Foxtrot Mike, when he was a dispatcher. Also, an amateur radio or ham operator. His handle was VE6BKW, Victor Echo 6 Bravo Kilo Whiskey. Now, I'm a ham operator too, but Mr. Munsey was a real ham operator who had to know Morse code, kind of like there used to be real conductors, and now there's brakemen with A-books. Anyway,
yeah,
enough of that.
The old days, yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
The CN has sought very appropriately, very recently, to honor Mr. Munsey with a station name. So Station Munsey, mile 63 of the Telqua sub.
Telqua sub, woo, I worked it.
Almost literally halfway between Endako and Smithers. 12,400 foot siding, very nice for the big long trains they run these days. And the rumor is that Mr. Munsey's ashes will be spread at some point on the main between switches. Very appropriate. Mr. Munsey, I salute you and thank you for your contribution to railroading in our country, because not only was Mr. Munsey an operator right after this end of the Second World War, he was a dispatcher, he was a chief, assistant soup, a soup, the first general manager of safety on the Mountain Region. Safety is the key, the vintage Mountain Region hat here. And he also had a part to play in installing the radio towers on the Alberta Resources Railway. So the the Grand Prairie.
Yeah.
And also played a part in developing the manual block system, or MBS system, which is a forerunner
of the OCS, and then became the CAMS.
Anyway,
assisted.
Without further ado.
Oh, and one thing I would like to add, though, that he was also, to me, a brother of the craft. My brother.
Mystic Thai Lodge. Awesome. Ancient, free, and accepted Masons.
There you go.
Not to be confused with the...
Let's not get into it.
No, okay. Now, Mr. Munsey also took the time to write some history down, and I'm going to be sharing this from time to time. I find these very compelling and very moving, actually, because we stand on the shoulders of giants, and without whom we would not be where we are today.
Absolutely.
All right. In the days of train order and timetable operation, steam engines, single track, and telegraphic communications, the train dispatcher's duties were onerous and carried a great deal of responsibility for the safe and efficient movement of traffic. This was particularly true following both world wars, when the equipment and infrastructure was taxed to its limits before being restored to a reasonable level of quality. As well, technology was slow to develop to provide improvements in rolling stock, structures, and procedures. Severe winters presented unique situations.
Welcome to Canada.
Exactly. With heavy snow affecting track conditions and sub-zero temps, seriously interfering with steam and air brake systems. In 1948, when I was happily assigned as a permanent operator at Jasper, the chief train dispatcher at Edson encouraged me to apply for an operator's position in Edson, where I could use my off-duty time to understudy the train dispatchers at that terminal. Although I had admired and respected... Although I had admired and respected the train dispatchers with whom I worked, I was not certain I wanted to undertake the enormous responsibility of being one. However, the chief was very persuasive and promised to make a relief dispatcher position available for me as soon as I reached the eligible age of 21. I agreed, and within a couple of weeks, I moved to Edson to assume my new duties as the second trick operator, working from 16 o'clock until midnight, 6 days a week. The operator's office was on the second floor of the station, where it adjoined the chief train dispatcher's office, which in turn adjoined the two train dispatching offices.
Coffee's always on.
One evening, shortly after I had arrived, The 2 train dispatchers on duty came to my office to ask if I would answer telephone or telegraphic calls for them. Well, they went across the street to the hotel cafe for a bite to eat. They advised me that everything was in hand and that they would be back in about 30 minutes to issue any train orders and resume their train dispatching duties. With the prospect of becoming a train dispatcher, I paid more attention to what they were doing as I worked in close proximity to them. Without compensation, I spent many hours of my own time sitting in with them to learn firsthand how they performed their duties. As well, I spent a great deal of time studying the operating rules pertinent to their work. When the chief train dispatcher felt that I was ready, he invited the inspector of train dispatching offices to visit Edson from his headquarters in Winnipeg to administer the prescribed examinations. I successfully passed all the tests. True to his word, the chief train dispatcher bulletined a vacancy for a relief train dispatcher at Edson.
True to his word. Huge.
Immediately afterwards, being told I was the senior applicant, I was assigned to relieve the regular man for his vacation and establish my seniority as a train dispatcher about 2 weeks prior to my 21st birthday. Except for 1 week when there was no work for me and I was forced to revert to an operator's position, I was steadily employed as a train dispatcher, a relief chief train dispatcher at various locations until I was promoted to a supervisory position in 1957. Amazing story. Now there's many more.
Amazing story.
It's a treasure trove for aficionados.
Yeah, those that come before us and then made it what it is, and there's more to come on that. Yeah, absolutely. So a big salute.
Big salute.
To JFM.
And you know, the tradition carries on with Mr. Munsey's son Will, who's a fellow locomotive engineer, and as a side gig, or maybe the engineer's a side gig. Anyway, he grows amongst other things, amazing tomatoes at his tomato ranch and bee farm, or whatever, colony or whatever. Beekeeper, he's a real Renaissance man. Out near New Sarepta.
I got you, right.
Out near New Sarepta.
New Sarepta on the Camrose sub. Oh, I got something coming up that has to do, because Camrose itself, on the Camrose sub, has a diamond with the CPR. And I got something.
Diamonds are forever. Stay tuned.
Wow, Harold. This
tuned.
guy never amazes me. Okay.
Stay tuned. Stay safe.
Diamonds are forever.
Safety is the key.
Oh, hang on. We're prepared. Stay safe. Children of the Steel.